Hare Krishna, Gauranga. Another 30 key verses of the Bhagavad-Gita coming up today. We are now on 719, and this sloka is a really nice one for me actually. I've known this sloka since I was pretty much a kid, you know. The 30 key verses, as I said it originally at the start of the introduction to the whole seminar, is quite a well-known set of slokas to most devotees. It's generally kind of that introductory study. It's one of those ones that everybody learns them as you're going through slokas. So when I was a devotee kid, you know, getting brought up in Krishna consciousness, I knew most of these 30 key verses at one point or another. I've learned them, forgotten them, relearned them, you know, so on and so forth over the years. But this one is stuck with me. There is something very wonderful and vital about learning slokas that if you capture them at a young age, they'll just stick with you forever, you know. And it's not just about memory, it's not just verbatim repeating, parrot-like speaking. It's actually that these slokas, you can call upon them when you really need them, you know. This is one of the things about being able to just quote the Lord's name, pastimes, and so on and so forth out of these slokas. Is it could save you at the time of death, you know. So let's get into this one and see how it goes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is Transcendental Knowledge, Chapter 7, Bhagavad-Gita, Text 19. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanaman Mam Prapajate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all that is, such a great soul is very rare. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Says here, the living entity while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many births may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. So I think I made this, as I did say, that a lot of these slokas are linked up. A lot of these verses are all, you know, they're getting similar as that message has been put from different angles of vision, different standpoints, but the same overarching theme is there, that this Bhagavad-Gita is bringing us to that culmination point of surrendering to Krishna. And we've come through everything. When one has chanted Hare Krishna, you have performed all religious principles, you've been through all the different bodies, you've done the different kinds of sacrifices, you've been a millionaire, a billionaire, a trillionaire, you've been the poorest, you've been the lowest, you've been everything. And now, finally, we're performing, you know, that most important devotional activity is chanting Hare Krishna, you know. And that's it, that's the highest perfection. It doesn't seem like it sometimes because we may not be getting the taste for the holy name, so we feel a little bit flat or disappointed. It may be that you know, we still have that attachment to expecting some variety, so we're always thinking, oh, there's something more. But the holy name is the highest method of religion, or it's the highest method of spiritual cultivation, and this Krishna consciousness is the highest philosophy. This book, the Bhagavad-Gita, along with, of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam and so on and so forth, are the most wonderful shastras for studying for the rest of our lives. It doesn't get any better than this, guys, I'm sorry. You know, we will be reading and going deeper and deeper, extracting more and more out of these books. We don't need to go into any other books. There is other books, especially in our Vaishnav line, there's other books as well which enhance, you know, like tributaries coming out of the big oceans and rivers. But this is the main content that we should be looking at to try and know Krishna and continue to learn alongside Krishna, you know. Because it says here, you know, at the start of this chapter, it says, Gyanam tiham savigyanam idam vakshyam yasheshataha yajgratvaneho buyonyaj gyanatavyam avasishyate, that I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. So this is one of these statements where you can kind of understand what's going on with Krishna consciousness. We don't like to just say that, yeah, this is it, this is the highest religious principle. But here's the Supreme Person of Godhead saying that you understand this Krishna consciousness, there is nothing further after that. You know, the highest point of it is learn who Krishna is, get into that relationship with him, you know, and then it evolves from there. But there is no higher process, there is no higher source, you know, than Krishna himself. And then again in 7.3, a very similar verse to this one, Bahanam Janmanamanti, it's saying here, out of many thousands among men one may endeavour for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection hardly one knows me in truth. There is different pursuits, there's different knowledges, and even within our spiritual practice, sometimes we even may miss the point. So when we chant, you know, we're trying like anything to hear and to taste the name and so on and so forth, but we can sometimes just be getting caught up in just chanting, just reading, just serving, just doing a thing, and not getting anywhere because we're not understanding that we should be going back to God in this lifetime. You know, we want to relate to Krishna, we want to be seeing Krishna, feeling Krishna, you know. So even sometimes we, as devotees, we can go around and let years just kind of milling around because we haven't quite understood that we gotta get out, we gotta get fired up, we gotta get serious, you know. Andrew Prabhu had that lecture, famous lecture, the Get Fired Up lecture, you know. And get fired up means intensely chant as much as possible, read as much as possible. We don't want to put pressure on ourselves, you know. In Kali Yuga, we've already stated all the different obstacles towards devotional service, but get fired up, do it now as quick as possible, get into Krishna consciousness. There was the Sanskrit for that was Manushyanam Sahasrishu Kaschid Yatati Sitayi Yatatam Apisadanam Kaschin Mamviditatvata. Very similar to this one here. Such a great soul is very rare, right? Samahatma Sadulavaha. Such a great soul is very rare. To see someone who is, after all these lifetimes, is finally saying, now I want to go. Because there's a story of Narada Muni, who seems to always be involved in all the pastimes. Narada Muni goes, he's told that he can give someone the chance to go back to God, that he feels like he's not taking enough people home. So Vishnu says, okay, whoever you see, you can tell them to come back. And basically, he goes to one man and he says, I'm going to take you back to Godhead. And the man says, whoa, that's fantastic, but at least, you know, let me get married first. He's like, okay, get married and I'll come back, then I'll get you. So he gets married, and then he says, okay, congratulations, it's been a few years now, you've been married now for a couple of years, let's go. He says, no, let me have kids first. And then you can imagine when this goes, let me have kids first, let the kids grow up, let the kids have kids, let the house, you know, so on and so forth, years to the point where he's sitting as an old man, and he's ready to go, and he passes away, and that body's gone. But now when he's persistent, he comes back to him as he actually goes into the body of a dog. He didn't even get the chance to go up because he missed his spiritual opportunity through all the things that he kept on putting it aside for. And he comes back, and Narada Muni says, come on, it's me, do you remember? Now I'm taking you back. And he goes, oh, I have my doggy family and my doggy situation. Narada Muni's like, oh my God. You know, and Vishnu's like, just see the nature of the living entity. Right? We spoke about Nitya Bada, eternally conditioned. He was enjoying and relishing, and he just wanted to keep building up his position, you know. So that person who has now understood that we're here in Krishna consciousness after all this time is that person who so keenly does not want to stay in this material world. This is what we have to be like. We have to deeply desire to not be here, and to have this by building up our intelligence from studying these books. I was going to say hearing these classes, maybe not necessarily my classes, but you know, please obviously follow my classes, get into these introductory course, you know, and try and find out what these slokas are. Maybe some devotees have forgotten what the 30 key verses are. Certainly for new people, you won't know what the 30 key verses are. So please, you know, jump in, stay involved, and see what we can open up, you know, together. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life, and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders unto Him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, that he is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. So again, these were these points about the material energy and the spiritual energy both being Krishna's energy. So utilize both for service of Krishna. Everything that comes in, all the spiritual potency and mercy, is that mercy of the Lord. So offer it back. All the material energy is not ours. We're just using it as borrowed time. This material body is just that material energy. It doesn't belong to us, so use it to serve Krishna. All the facilities that are given are just parts of our karma or conditioning. They're things that have been given by previous pious activities. But those things will come and go, But the Krishna consciousness, we stress this point heavily. The Krishna consciousness that we can gather onto ourselves, by devotional activity now, is just stockpiling up. And we can use that to just capture the ability to come out of this material world. Finally, at last, go back to Godhead, Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. So one person who's seeing Krishna everywhere, who's seeing everything as Krishna's, who's offering everything to Krishna, and who's only willing to serve and surrender to Krishna, that's a very rare person. There's many devotees who are seeing, okay, Krishna's God, I'm going to practice this for the rest of my life, I'm going to be at this level, that level, grihastha, sannyas, vanaprastha. These are different designations, different upadhis, But to actually really chant, we must let all these things go. Nahambipurna charanarapati navaishana shudro. That verse, the Bhuta Shuddhi prayer, saying that we're not sannyasis, we're not grihastas, we're not vanaprasthas, we're not any of these things, we're not any of these designations, we're just simply the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. That's the mood that frees us from bodily designation, from material conditioning, and allows us to practice devotional service in a way that helps us surrender. That's a very rare position. This verse is very nicely explained in the 3rd chapter, verses 14 and 15 of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Sahasra Shirsa Purushaha, Sahasraksha Sahasra Pad, Sa Bhumim Vishvato Vritvra, Tyatishta Dasangulam, Purusha Evadam Sarvam, Yad Bhutam Yachcha Bhavyam, Uttam Ritat Vashyeshano, Yad Anin Natiru Hati. Very similar verse, of course, to the Purusha Shukta prayers, that's Sahasra Hirsa Purushaha. Lord Vishnu has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, and thousands of feet, entirely encompassing the whole universe. He still extends beyond it by 10 fingers' breadth. He is in fact this entire universe. He is all that was and all that will be. He is the Lord of immortality and all that is nourished by food. In the Chandogya Upanishad 5:1-15, it is said, Navai vacho na chakshumshi, na shutrani na mamamshitya chakshate, prana it eva chakshate, pranohya evatani sarvani bhavanti. In the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is life which is the center of all activities. So this is basically saying it's Krishna. That's all Krishna's energy and all these things, Krishna's presence in all these things that is vital. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. In this body there are powers of speaking, of seeing, of hearing, of mental activities, etc. But these are not important if not related to the Lord, to the Supreme Lord, And because Vasudeva is all-pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. So this is very wonderful and very clear, Everywhere we go, everywhere we are, everything we're doing can be related to Krishna. There isn't a second that needs to be wasted in our devotional life. And in that mood, actually, especially during Kartik, we can keep that mood, Keep the holy name on the tongue at all times. From the minute you wake up in the morning, offer obeisances to the spiritual master. Then brush your teeth. If you take a shower or something, if you do that, if you've got time and it won't wake anybody else up or so on and so forth, take your shower, come out, chant your mantras, chant rounds, offer your water to the deities, offer some food, and then again back onto the rounds. If you're doing some other tasks in between that you can't have the bead bag in your hands, then can either chant the holy name or sing things like the Gaurvastikam, the Shinga Pranams, depending on what time you're at, the Guru Puja, whatever it is, Tulsi Arti, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Get the iPod on, kirtans, lectures, and then again finishing more rounds, then again working, hearing lectures, hearing kirtans, then talking to your family about Krishna, reading with, it can go on all day like that, just meditating on Krishna, because to that degree, we don't want to slip out of this, taste for Krishna consciousness. And this is one of the people who, as I said, you don't realize how fast you're going. These may seem like very external things. Oh, I'm just, thinking about Krishna all day, or that's going to keep me fired up. It will, because wherever it is Krishna, there is all victory, there's morality, there's all, everything is perfect where Krishna is there. And we're hearing that coming from so many different shastras, not just from Srila Prabhupada, in the last 50 years or whatever. We're hearing this coming from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. That's an ancient shastra, millions of years old, these Upanishads, These are Vedic truths, spoken by all the great sages, across the universe. And all of them have also searched to the same degree that they want to go back to Godhead in this lifetime, After so much time, we've realized this is it, and this is such a wonderful thing, So don't give up, and just keep that goal in mind, that we are on the straight and narrow path back to Godhead in this Gaudiya Vaishnava, Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, the fast lane back to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol.